Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, here in Scotland, capital of literally everything, including imaginary realms as well. I appear to have a bit of a problem with the exposure on my camera. Hang on just a moment. I will get this resolved because I know why that has happened. Because for some reason, there we go. My camera has not picked up my camera software. It's just using the default settings, the default Windows camera settings. I don't know why. It does that, but it's weird. But anyway, we have fixed it. So there we go. So it should look as it should do now. There we go. That's better. All right. So we have 21 people here, which is awesome. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I hope everybody has had some fun. And has had a fun time with Studio One Pro 7 in these last few days since we launched it. Personally, for me, I think this is one of the most exciting versions of Studio One that Presonus has ever launched. Very, very cool feature set. Okay, only 30 new features and improvements added. And some would say maybe it's a little bit on the weak side in terms of new things added to Studio One. But let me just say this. Stay tuned for what is coming going forward. There is a lot of new features, including a lot of answered feature requests that are coming. So if you have made feature requests over the years, and you have not seen any of yours added yet, it may just be that you may just be about to get lucky and you may actually get to see your feature request added to Studio One. So hang in there. There is a whole bunch of new stuff coming. And as was said in the keynote video with John Hillman and Joe and Gregor, the release cadence is going to be much faster. So you will get features added to Studio One much faster than ever before. Much faster than ever before. And much more regularly than ever before. So this means that not only are new features and improvements added much faster than ever before, but also, bug fixes and maintenance and that kind of stuff will also continue in the background behind the scenes, and those will be added regularly as well as required. So it's pretty darn cool. Cesar says, if it's by the members of Studio One Plus on Facebook, the excess exposure of your camera is the fault of Studio One 7. That's very funny. No. Yeah, that's quite funny. No, basically the issue with my camera is sometimes it just doesn't pick up my camera software, and it tries to use the default exposure settings of Windows camera, which is very annoying because it's not a Windows camera. It's not like a default thing. It's the Logitech. It's a Logitech webcam is what I'm using. If I had the money, I would get myself something a bit fancier, like a DSLR camera. I would love to get one of those and then just set it up behind my screen here in place of my webcam and use that instead. But using something that is 4K maybe, which a lot of modern cameras are these days, I don't think my graphics card would cope with that kind of amount of information and picture information. So the webcam will do. The software I'm using with it and the way I've got it set up now is actually pretty darn cool. So at the moment I like how it looks. But I'm always up for improving things and making things better. So I set this show up yesterday because I thought I'd get ahead of myself, and it seems you guys have been chatting away in the pre-show chat, and of course YouTube has deleted all of that, which is very annoying. Let me just straighten up my chair. Which is very annoying that they do that. I don't know why that happens, but it just does. And no rhyme or reason. I don't know why they do it, but they do it. And I don't think it's because what you're saying is violating any rules or anything. I think it's actually a bug. I think it's just an arbitrary bug in the software that YouTube are using for their live streaming. So, yeah, I don't know. So I can only go on what the chat actually says. And at the moment, it says that Ron Figueroa was first in the door. So I'm sorry to whomever actually was first, but Ron, you are now first. And then we have Kyle Drudruziak here, and we have Tony Stringer who says Toodaloo Mr. 6.5 here. Yeah, I know you've also updated to 6.6, which is cool. So I'm glad you've done that. And we got Stephen Wilson here. We got Keith from Radio Top Trumpet. And by the way, for those of you that aren't aware, Radio Top Trumpet is back. After a summer/autumn break, it is now back. So if you want your music to be played on a radio station that has a sense of humor about it as well, then please do go and check out Radio Tuck Frumpet. And he's doing really good stuff, actually. It's taken him a while to get it kind of get his setup optimized and get it working really well. But it does now, and his broadcasts are really good. So if you want to go check that out, I recommend it. And not only do you have the chance to have your music played on his channel, on his station, but you also get the chance to listen to other Studio One creators and their music as well. So do go check that out. Anyway, I kind of interrupted myself there. So we got Chris from Rackner as well. He says, hello, everybody. I can only stay for a short while. Glad to see you all. Well, you know what? We're really glad to see you too, Chris. Thank you for being here and being a part of this community. I really appreciate you. And we got Just Bob here who says hello. We got Tony Stringer who says, sorry, boys and girls. I've, of course, updated to his... Studio on 6.6 on my Surface Pro. In 2 weeks I'll be back at my real computer and there will be a little bit of this and that. Cool, awesome, glad to hear that. Don Oliver's here. Jeff Wood is here who says greetings from GW in Whitley Bay. Greetings to you, my friend. I'm glad you're here. We got Cesar here as well. Cesar Nova from Brazil. So Brazil is in the house, which is awesome. And we got Gold My 5 here as well. Glad you're here. And we got RJ Hagler here as well. He says that keyboard trumpet can only mean one thing. We got Billy Morgan here too. And who else do we have? We got Aurora Boring Alice as well. We got Old School Funk and Soul, who is down in the Midlands of England. He says it's a starter, great workflow improvement update. Yes, it really is. There's a lot to get started with. And there's lots of little things as well, which I think a lot of people maybe have overlooked and just kind of thought, meh. You know, kind of like, actually, I want to look at the big things, like the clip launcher. I want to look at, Splice integration and, all the big things. And the big things are great, by the way. But there's some nice little GUI tidy ups here and there, like rounding the edges of the audio events and actually making the edges, the boundaries of them a wee bit more visible, and making it a bit more obvious when you actually select an audio event. That was a feature request that we just could not ignore. A lot of people requested that because they were always just like, I'm not really sure. Have I selected my event or not? I'm not really sure. Because all it used to do was just very subtly highlight. Like the color would be brighter. So it would be the color of the event, but brighter. And that's all that you got. You got no real other indication that your event was selected. Now you do, because the boundary surrounding the event, the container, I should say, of the event now has this nice white highlight around it, which I really like. Because it makes it much more obvious that you have selected a particular event, and that's the event that you want to work on. So especially if you are doing like a select all or a range select of certain events, you can now see much more easily at a glance that you have covered all the events that you want to select. I really like that. And that's something I have actually wanted personally myself for quite a while, because I'm colorblind. I'm one of these very rare people, actually. I'm in less than 0.5% of the world's population who genuinely don't see color at all. That's me. I don't see color at all. So my world is kind of a sepia world. So subtleties like, you know, a color going from dark to from one color, you know, like let's say you've got an event that's a yellow event, right? And then when you select it, it becomes a slightly brighter yellow. To me, I don't see that. I don't really see the difference. It's too subtle for me. So the fact that we've now got this white border around the event when it's selected, man, I was very, very happy that they did that. So I think, you know, for other people who are also perhaps visually impaired as well, it's going to help them. You know, I am ludicrously short-sighted as well. So, you know, there's that to add into that as well. So, let me see. Who else do we have here? We got Rhythm Who's here as well. Garner99 is here. Loens is here. Cleon Richardson is here. And I think that's it. I think I got down to the bottom, which is nice. All right, so Cesar, I think, is wanting to ask a series of questions. Remember, if you would like to ask a question, please type at Jonny Lipsham Studios to start your question. Because then I can, what that does is that shows my name in red. And that means I can see that it's a question rather than just general chat. It's something that's directed at me. And I can separate that out from everything else because there's just a nice highlight around my name. So it's nice and easy to see because it's a highlight. It's not white text on black background. It's white text on a colored background. And I can see that. I know that that's a question for me. So please do that. Otherwise, I'm very, very likely to miss your question. And I don't want to do that. So yeah, I think Cesar has a bunch of questions. And if you have any questions about Studio One Pro 7, that's what this show is about. I am dedicating like the next couple of weeks of shows over to Studio One version 7. So if Studio One 7 is your thing, Studio One 7 is your bag, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. A bunch of you have already. I have had something in the region of 60 brand new subscribers. So to you guys, thank you very much for hitting that subscribe button. If you like what I'm doing here, you like my videos, you like this show, please hit the old thumbs up like button as well. That always helps me out a lot because the YouTube algorithm just goes, hey, people are liking this stuff, we should promote it. And then I get free promotion because then my stuff, my videos and my live shows appear on the home page of YouTube, or at least they have the potential to appear on the homepage of YouTube. And when that happens, a lot more people see my work. And therefore, they come and watch my shows and my videos, and, you know, you get this nice little feedback loop. And I would like to be a part of that. So yeah, so if you have not checked out my overview video for Studio One Pro 7, it is live. It went live on the day of launch. So far, I have had nearly 7,000 views, which is amazing. It beats the crap out of my 6.6 video, which only had like 6,500 views since April. But this is like 7,000 views in like 4 days. It's crazy. So yeah, please check that out. To make things easier for people, because that video is actually quite long. It's like 45 minutes long-ish, like 46 minutes long. So what I'm doing in order to help kind of make it a bit easier for you to access what is in that video and find the thing that you want to know about that I covered in that video, rather than you having to manually scroll, what I'm doing, and it's actually working in the background right now as we speak, I'm rendering out edited cuts from that video that so that I can basically do a separate video for each of the features that are in the main overview video. So those will be coming up in the next 24 hours, I would think. It depends how long they take to upload to YouTube. But hopefully they will be there in the next 24 hours, and you can basically go and watch a 6, 7, 8 minute video on the particular feature that you're interested in. Some of them are like 3.5 minutes, so they're actually pretty short. And then for some of the bigger things like the launcher, there will be a much more detailed, in-depth video on launcher. I did cover it in the overview video, but and so I've separated that one out as well. But I will do a longer version of that where I will go into a bit more detail on things that you can do by design, and also things that you can do that are a little bit more creative with the launcher, because, I'm not an EDM guy or a dance guy or anything like that. That's not my thing at all. My thing is acoustic music, jazz, folk, funk, those kind of things. So I deal with, generally speaking, real instruments. But the cool thing about the launcher is you can find yourselves making music in a way you never thought, A, possible, and B, that you would ever do it. I've been playing with Studio One Pro 7 for a long time because I work for the Personas, so I get, much earlier access because I work in the software side of the company, so I get much earlier access to Studio One Pro 7, so I've been using it for a long, long time. And so that launcher thing is addictive. Let's just say that is addictive when you start using it, even if dance styles are not your thing. Just start, getting things out of the Splice integration and into the launcher, or, find a song that's yours, open that song and then start moving, sections, arrange your sections into the launcher, and then you can start doing a remix. And then you can find other things from Splice that might even fit what you're doing in a way that you never expected. I've done that. And let's just say I was really surprised by the results. So I'm going to create a much longer form video with the launcher where I'm basically just going to do that. I'm going to spontaneously create a new thing just using the launcher. You can record into the cells, which is really amazing. So, if, let's say, you're looking through Splice, you're looking through your own loops and all of that, and you're not finding a vocal sample that you want to use, you can create one yourself, and then you can record that into the cell, and then you can do whatever you want with it from that point on. Or you can do some sound design on a separate track, and you can bit crush it, you can put a huge reverb on it or a ping pong delay on it, and then you can drag that across to the launcher and have that in a cell, and then you can have that looping when you want. So it can be incredibly creative for creating really creative new and fresh arrangements of existing songs, or just for trying out different things. So let's see who else has just popped in whilst I've been rabbiting like a lunatic. We've got Charles13X. He says, best way to learn Studio One is by doing an AI search. That is one way to do it. Not necessarily the way that I would completely recommend. And the reason being is that, AI currently doesn't know everything about things like Studio One. So all it does at the moment is it trawls the internet and finds information about Studio One. So it will pull from not necessarily accurate information as well as some accurate sources as well. So what you may end up with from AI is maybe not necessarily, completely accurate. So be careful with AI and just taking what information you get from AI and taking that as correct, because it might not be. Because at the moment, it just takes from sources where it sees Studio One cropping up. So that's kind of how AI works at the moment. But yeah, it will provide you with some good information, not saying it won't, but it may also provide you with some incorrect information just because it found information in which Studio One was mentioned, and it may actually be false, or it may actually be incorrect, or it may even be out of date information. So that's important to bear in mind. I'm just going to start going through some of these things here. Let's see. Just Bob says, can you demonstrate how the track separator works? And are there any limitations as to what tracks can be separated? For example, store-bought music. Currently, you can pretty much use anything that's a stereo file. Now, if you are using another artist's work, you got to be careful, especially if you decide to publish what you do in Studio One. You got to be careful. Because you can certainly fall foul of copyright if you're not careful. So basically, it will work on any stereo mix that you bring into Studio One. I did it in my overview video, and I used my own song. I used Dig Myself a Hole. And currently, what you get is you get vocals, drums, bass, and something called other. And basically, that other tends to be whatever else is in the mix. And I found when I did Dig Myself a Hole, it certainly at the very beginning of the song, it thought that there was a snippet of the Hammond organ that sounded very like my voice because it inhabits kind of the same kind of frequency range. So there was a little bit of Hammond organ at the start of my vocal. And that's kind of okay because I can just chop that off. And then I've just got strictly, for the rest of the song, it's got my vocal perfectly separated. Now, the cool thing about this is that once it had separated all the stems out, I could totally do a backing track with no vocal and it would sound perfect. Like really, really, really good. Not maybe completely perfect, but certainly extremely good. To the point where I was happy to use it. And I am happy to use it on a more long-term basis, but I will take you to the song where I did that. Now, the thing to bear in mind is this takes time to do. So let's go over to here. So you can see the song here is Dig Myself a Hole. But then if I right click this guy and because it's in my recent items, you'll see that the stem separation is there. But if you have never used it before, you go to the audio tab here and then you will find separate stems. So when you click on this guy, this is the dialog box that you'll get: vocals, drums, bass, and other. This will take time to do, and I'm a little concerned that it might tank the stream, but we're going to try it because this will take a few minutes to do. Let's see. Is it going to do it? Yep, it's starting. And looks like it's only going to take just about a minute to do. And I'm just going to have a look at the chat whilst I'm doing that. Cesar says, I know this requires Max integration, but is there any chance that Studio One will release an update for push 2? Or is this the kind of question that all devs curse me? The answer to that question is I don't know. I am not really on the hardware side of things, and certainly I have zero involvement in third-party hardware products and integration files and things like that for Studio One. I have nothing to do with any of that, so I really can't actually answer that question, I'm afraid, Cesar. I'm really sorry to disappoint you. All right, so this is what we've ended up with. I'm going to close the mixer. And what happens is the original stereo mix is now muted. So we don't need this anymore. And now what we have is we have this folder with the separated out stems. Now, let me play you just the vocal and you'll see exactly what I mean by you get a little bit of Hammond organ at the start of the vocal. Check this out.
When everything's against me, my back against the wall. Holding all the words, 'cause I feel 2 feet tall.
So it's done actually a decent job of separating out the vocal, including stripping the silence after I've stopped singing on different phrases. So let's say we wanted to check this out as a backing track. Check this out. So it actually has done a pretty decent job of separating out the lead vocal. Now, what I might do for this little Hammond intro is, I guess what I could do is I could just come in here and I could turn off snap and I could just trim between here and here. And then I could probably just pull this down into a separate folder all of its own. And there you would have that particular issue fixed, because this I know is the Hammond organ part, and you know it was missing on its own from the intro. Because the stem separation tool had thought that that was my voice singing, and so it was wrong about that. But that's because my voice and the Hammond organ inhabit very, very similar frequency spectrum, frequency space, and so it just didn't quite get that right. Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's trying to separate things out by frequencies and all of that. So it's pretty smart, it's pretty solid, but, you know, there's definitely, I would say, wiggle room for improvement, for sure. But, you know, this is the first time we've ever had a stem separation tool inside of Studio One, so I'm not really complaining. I know I've read other people saying, oh, it's not as good as the one that's in Logic, that's been in Logic for years. Well, yeah, that's because the one that's been in Logic for years has had years of development done to it, and people have reported bugs with it, and the developers have then gone and fixed those bugs and then improved it and improved it and improved it. So they've had a bit of a head start. And then there's third-party products where all it is a stem separator tool, and that's all that company does with that product. So they are going to be, you know, really laser focused in terms of actual development, time, and money and resources on making sure that their stem separator tool is like really, 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 really top notch, because that's all they do. They don't actually do other DAW development. Whereas at Presonus, we are dealing with an entire DAW environment and all of the things that go with that, and all of the new things that go with that are brand new integrated to Studio One. So they're dealing with a lot of different things. They're not just dealing with a stem separation tool. They're dealing with a stem separation tool plus Splice integration plus a whole host of other things. So, you know, I think this is a really good start, is what I'm trying to say. I think this is a really good start. And I'm really looking forward to see how this tool develops in the future and how much it improves in terms of being able to separate things out. Because I would really love it in the future if I had a song with a horn section arrangement on it where I could actually separate out the trumpet, the alto saxophone, the tenor saxophone, the trombone, and the baritone saxophone. So I'd have each one of those as its own stem. That's going to be incredibly difficult because they all inhabit the same frequency spectrum. It's going to be very, very hard, and particularly with the alto, tenor, and baritone saxes. They are reed instruments. They sound very, very similar to each other. So that would be very hard to do, I think. So I think we are some way away in the future before ever getting to that point. But that's not to say I don't think that could be possible in the future, because I do think it's possible. And I think it would be immense, and I think it would be amazing if we could develop the technology in that general direction. But we will have to wait and see. But stem separation tool, good question. Good question indeedy. I need to go back up and see Cesar's first question. Because I think he had another one, but I can't find it now. Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see it. I'm sure it will pop up, but I don't see it right now. Charles 13X says it gives you step-by-step instructions, and every time I get stuck, an AI search the question, I get the results instantaneously. Yeah, but like I said, you may not necessarily get completely reliable information. Yes, they are getting better and better. AI search things are definitely getting better and better and better. But I don't necessarily think they are completely there yet in terms of completely accurate information that you can reliably trust, to as close to 100% as possible. Don't think they're quite there yet. Just Bob says, thanks. I wouldn't use it for publishing, thinking it might help learning guitar parts and stuff like that if it could be isolated. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the stem separation tool would allow you to do some of that for sure. One of the things I wanted to try it on is Brothers in Arms, from the Brothers in Arms record by Dire Straits, because I wanted to be able to isolate Mark Knopfler's guitar solo, the one that's in the middle and then the one that's at the end as well. Be able to maybe do a note-for-note transcription of that and then cover that on either my sax or my flugelhorn or something like that. Just by way of, not only improving my transcription skills, but then also being able to play a guitar solo on another instrument. So that's another goal of mine with stem separation, but I'm going to have to wait and see about that. Let's see. So I sound like an organ. I guess I kind of do. I can't actually do the Leslie thing though, but I will try that, Billy, just for you. Just Bob says, this is great. I have songs mixed down from a Tascam Porta Studio that doesn't work anymore, so I can't retrieve the stems. This perfect to revisit some old songs I've burned to CD. Yes, this would definitely help you for sure. Now, the thing here is, let me go back to this stem separation thing. The thing here is at the moment it's just limited to 4 stems, which is the vocals, the drums, the bass, and other stuff. So if I was to just solo up the other stuff, this is what you get. So you can hear what we have there is we have a lead guitar part, and then we have a couple of rhythm guitar parts, plus we also have the Fender Rhodes, and we also have the Hammond organ as well. So that's 5 instruments all on one stereo track. So, separating out those could certainly be an issue. What you might think about doing, I don't know how possible this is because I've not done this, but having done a stem separation to get kind of the 4 stems that we've talked about, I wonder whether what we could do is we could take this, which is the everything else stem, and separate that and see what pops out. Now, I think all it's going to do is give us vocals, bass, and drums, and the other thing again. It might just pop out just another other stem, because it will listen to this and go, there's no vocals there, there's no bass there, and there's no drums. What do I do with this? And it might just be completely confuzzled and just, I invented a word there. Actually, it's a Scots word. It might be completely confuzzled and basically just spit out yet another other stem, which may be less than ideal. But like I said, it's an experiment I have not tried yet, so I will certainly try it. Let me go over to the lounge. Old School Funk and Soul has a couple of really good questions, and actually I've addressed this in the Studio One Pro Plus community, because somebody posted there. In fact, they had a bit of a rant, shall we say, in not the best way, because, you know, certainly there could be legal issues with the things that were posted. I'm not going to say what they are for obvious reasons, but there certainly could be legal issues there with what he was asserting, shall we say. So he says, a major concern for popular Studio One user mentioned in his, I'm going to actually read it from over here because it's easier. In his video, asks, where does your original audio and MIDI you drop into Splice go using the AI thing? The Splice database, a copyright black hole? It's a good question, and actually Splice have addressed this themselves. It's laid out in the Splice terms and conditions. So if you go to support at Splice, or in fact, in the FAQ on the Splice Studio One page, because believe it or not, there is a Splice Studio One page, there is actually a specific question there. I'm going to read you from the response that I gave there. In fact, you know what? Screw that. I think what I will do is I will just show you rather than tell you. So let me just open up that Splice page and we will look at it together. All right, so this is the Splice Studio One page, splice.com/plan/studio1/about. And there's an option there to start your free 7-day trial. And it says here, it tells you exactly what you get and how much it's going to cost you, which is $12.99 a month, which is in the UK, that's less than £10 per month. That's definitely less than a trip to Starbucks or Costa Coffee every month. And you get a lot of royalty-free samples and stuff like that directly inside of Studio One. So there's all this stuff to do with how you use it and finding compatible sounds and stuff like that. Now, the important thing here is this. What does Splice do with the audio I upload? And there is the link to terms of use. Here, your sounds, I'm going to highlight this so that nobody misses this. Your sounds are safe with Splice. Uploaded loops are used exclusively to help you find compatible sounds on Splice. We will never use your loops to train AI models or share your loops with other Splice users. And there's the link to terms of use. You need to go and check this out. Okay? I'm going to put this link in the chat. And so if you have copyright concerns with how the Splice AI integration is going to affect what you upload to that, the answer is right there. Because they have obviously thought about this for a very long time, and they have realized obviously people are going to want to know what happens to their work when they drop it in that AI thing. Does that work then get stored on an archive storage somewhere and then get disseminated to other Splice users, so your work just goes out to other Splice users for free for other Splice users? No, because that would be a clear copyright violation. And that would be illegal. And so they're not going to do that because, you know, do they really want to be spending millions and millions and millions of dollars fighting copyright lawsuits when they could be using those millions and millions and millions of dollars on improving this? on improving this integration with Studio One. I think they don't want to be in court. They do want to be developing this and making it better. So from what I can see here, and from this very comprehensive answer, and also what is in the terms of use, and I've gone ahead and looked at it, so you need to go to section 3.2.2, and you'll see it laid out in the terms of use there. The thing to remember here is terms of use are not just a document for you to read that spells out how you can use the program, how you can use the software. It is a legally binding document. So if you become a Splice member, even if you have a free Splice account, and you just click on the I agree button like everybody does with any software, it's like the Studio One EULA, the end user license agreement. That is a legally binding document. So when you click agree, it's not just a button that you click to make it go away. It's a button you click that states legally you have bound yourself to agreement to that document and all that is in it. And so it is with these terms of use. If you become a member of Splice, or you have this Splice integration and you create a free Splice account, then those terms of use, you are bound to them, and Splice is also bound to them. That's how terms of use documents work. It's how they make it available to you and how you interact with it. And there's a legally binding agreement that is in place there. So this states, we will never use your loops to train AI models or share your loops with other Splice users. So that's not going to happen, because if that did happen, you could refer Splice legally to that statement, and you could call them into question, and you would have a legal standing on that issue. You would have a legal case which you could probably win. So they're not going to do that because they don't want to have lawsuits and shit like that, and you don't either. So the important part is that the samples with Splice X Studio One subscription are pre-cleared. Yes, they are. They are already cleared, so they are already royalty free and cleared for your use. So no, there is, in summary, there is no copyright black hole here. And I know that there is bad information circulating around that says that this is an issue. It's not. It's not. So I have already debunked this both on Facebook several times and in the Studio One Pro Plus community. I've said this several times. This is not an issue. This is based on false information. So if anybody says to you, oh, that Splice integration, it's a copyright black hole, they'll be eating up your work and giving it away for free, or selling it for their own financial gain and not yours, that is a lie, and it is false information and potentially could get you into legal hot water. So don't spread that stuff. So yes, there you go. And I know I kind of sound like I've just given you all a telling off, and I'm sorry, because that's not my intent at all. But this is really, really important. This is how misinformation gets spread, and this is how lies get believed, and this is how people then call into question companies that are actually trying to do something pioneering, that are actually trying to do something good and creative, that will allow creators to make creative music and have creative enterprise. So, you know, this is how a good tool and a good concept can get totally ruined by people spreading misinformation. Now, I'm not saying that you guys are doing that, because I don't think you are. You just have questions, and that's fine. But the definitive answer here is Splice will never use your stuff to train its AI models, and it will never use your stuff to give away to other Splice users. That will never happen. It's in the terms of use, and it's in that FAQ. So I hope that that's really, really clear, because it's very important that you guys have this very, very clear And also so that you now have a link to the resource. So anywhere that you see this on Facebook, on Reddit, on Twitter, wherever you come across this misinformation, you can now counter it with the truth, which is that is not what Splice do. It's not what they will ever do. So you now have the weaponry by which to quash false information. So, Rich says, and this is actually very important. He says, when I say cleared, this is in regards to their use after the fact in a commercial composition, not as a way to reuse the samples isolated or to be resold as your own work. Correct. Correct. Because, you know, what is in Splice is provided by other creators, believe it or not, and other recorded works that they have purchased the right to use. And so all of those are cleared, which means you can use them in your work and you can release your work commercially that contains those. But you cannot take a sample such as the trumpet sample that I used in my Splice integration section of my overview video. Now, if you take that trumpet sample and you try to sell it as your own trumpet sample and say, hey, I made this brand new sample, here, go buy it. Here's my trumpet sample pack. But you've used Splice loops and Splice samples to make that sample pack and you're passing that off as your own. That is criminal. Don't do that. But yes, these samples have been cleared so you can actually use them in the context of your own compositional work. That's fine. Armin says, is there anything Harmony Wizard can do that Scalar 2 can't besides being native to Studio One MIDI-wise? Well, here's the thing. Harmony Wizard was created by Lucas Ruziska. So it's a third-party product. It's not native to Studio One. It works in Studio One because it used powerful scripting and coding tools that Lucas is familiar with and has access to. But it's not native to Studio One. It doesn't exist in Studio One Pro 7. Okay? It's a third-party product from Lucas that you need to purchase if you want to have it. It's incredibly powerful. I have never used Scalar 2, so I have no idea what Scalar 2 does. I've heard lots of good things about it. I have just never got it because it's not really something that has ever really interested me particularly. Harmony Wizard, on the other hand, I know Lucas very, very well. He is a very good friend of mine. And what he has done is really, really cool. I was happy to be a part of his little group of people helping him. You know, he consulted with a few people, myself and Rich and Marcus and a few others. He consulted with to make sure that his product that he was developing was really, really good. And so I was delighted to be a part of helping him with that, as I'm sure Rich was as well. It's really, really powerful. It's really, really good. And it can do a lot of very, very creative things. But like I say, I've never used Scalar 2, so I don't know what... I don't really have the wherewithal to be able to compare one to the other, unfortunately. But I've heard good things about it. Continuing what we said about, you know, samples and stuff like that. Rich says, it's important that you cannot gift samples to others, even in good faith. This is against the EULA, the End User License Agreement, and you're subject to legal proceedings, as is your friend. That is correct. That is 100% correct. Please take that on board, everybody. Because that is an extremely important point. So, yes, you cannot gift samples. So if you have a sample that is in Splice and your friend hears you using that and goes, wow, that sample is awesome. Could I have a copy of that? And you go, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll just zip it up in a WAV format and I'll just send you the zip file for it. That is wrong. That is actually illegal. So don't be doing that. Even if you're doing it because you're just wanting to do your friend a favor, that can still get you into legal hot water, and it will get your friend into legal hot water because they will be a recipient of goods created illegally. So yeah, don't be doing that. Now, like, I just want to caveat all the stuff that I've said about Splice, and the legalities of copyright and stuff like that. I'm not a lawyer. I have no legal qualifications, no legal expertise. I'm only going on what I have read in the Splice terms of use, because I read terms of use. I read end user license agreements. Why? Because it's important to do so. It's important to do so that you know what you are getting from the company whose product you are in the process of installing, and also what benefits you have within that end user license agreement or the terms of use, and also things that you're not allowed to do. So you know where the boundaries are, and you keep yourself in good standing, and you keep yourself out of legal trouble. Because, I have had friends fall foul of terms of use violations because they did something, and they actually did it innocently. They did it in good faith, but it was the wrong thing to do, and they ended up in legal trouble, and it cost them a lot of money. So it's important that you read end user license agreements and terms of service and terms of use documents, because they are legally binding upon you. Whether you like it or not. That's just the way it is. All right, so we have about 2 minutes to go, and we've got like a load of people watching, which is amazing. We got 43 people here, which is awesome. We actually peaked at 48, which, by the way, is only 5 away from the Sunday Night Live record. So I will be doing another one of these next Sunday. I'll be doing another one on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified, where we're going to start looking in a little bit more detail at Studio One Pro 7 from a songwriting and arranging and composing point of view. Not that there is actually a lot of brand new features for that. We've got the scale toolbar in the note editor, which is very, very cool. I did a little bit on that in the overview video. So if you've not seen that, please go check it. It's very, very cool. Like I said, I've made cuts of each of the features that are in that overview video, and I made them into separate videos. Those will be going live in the next 24 hours or so. So keep your eyes open for those, and you'll see individual videos on the features that I covered in the overview video, so that if there's like one thing that you are particularly interested in, you don't have to scroll through the whole video to try and find it. There's a separate video for it. So those will be going up very, very soon. I will be doing a bit of a deep dive into Launcher, because Launcher is very, very cool, and it's so totally outside of my wheelhouse. I thought, why not embarrass myself a little bit more, and a little bit more publicly? So, yes. So there you go. We have reached the 1 a.m. Hour. There is an after show Zoom if you would like to come join Billy and others there. I will be there for a bit because I still have some Coke Zero left to drink. This show is not sponsored by Coke Zero, but I like it, so I will be drinking it. So yeah, so watch out for those extra videos coming up over the course of the next 24 hours or so. And then Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central, Songwriting Simplified will be given over once again to Studio One Pro 7. So if you have questions that you couldn't get in tonight, hold on to them for Wednesday, and I will happily take your questions then. We've only got 28 likes. It would be really nice if those likes could go up to like 42, 43 in the next 20 seconds, 30 seconds before I end the show. So thank you very much to every single one of you who has joined me tonight. And all your questions tonight have been fantastic, especially the ones on Splice. I think it's really important that we cover that, so that little bit of mythology doesn't get to, unravel and explode around the world, because that would be bad for everybody. So yeah, thank you very much for all of your questions. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Hit the like button again if you haven't done that already too. That helps me out a lot. I would appreciate it immensely. And I'll see you on Wednesday for sorry, I'm switching songs back. For Songwriting Simplified Studio One Pro 7 Special. See you then, folks. Good night.